Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon session. So I'll be doing the talking and the demos. So welcome along to our webinar for understanding tax codes. So hopefully we should get the content covered. It's quite short, the content, so maybe in the region of about half an hour max, I think. We've got a number of my colleagues are on hand to answer your questions. And I'll quickly tell you a little bit about that just in case it's your first webinar. So a little bit of housekeeping, you don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you've got one and you've enabled it, you'll find you're muted automatically and you can't unmute yourself. Now that means you can't verbally ask any questions, but you will be able to type them into the questions panel. So my colleagues Karen, Laurie, Ryan, Sonia and Tina are all on hand. Seems quite a lot, but we have just about getting on for about 900 of you registered for this afternoon session. So expecting it to be very busy on the questions side. So pop your questions into the questions panel. If you can't currently see that, it should be in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. But if you can't see it, you just need to click the little icon on your toolbar. It's the one that looks like the little speech bubble containing the question mark, and then you should be able to see that. So any questions or comments you have along the way, pop them in there, and we'll try and, obviously, as I say, we'll try and answer them as best we can. If we get inundated, obviously apologies in advance. We are expecting to be very busy. So loads of information in the help center, but if we don't get a chance to answer your questions, apologies for that in advance, but do get in touch with our support team if you've got any specific queries, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later on. There is a copy of the slides that you can download. So there is a little handout icon on your toolbar as well. It is just literally a copy of the slides. Some of them do have links, which will take you across to Help Center articles. The articles are really easy to find anyway, and we'll be touching on that a little bit today. We're going to get a little bit of a hands-on task so you can access that help just that little bit easier. And there is an option also to switch to full screen mode as well. If anyone is having an echo, I know I just want to mention that one. So if anyone does have an echo, it normally just means that you're logged into the webinar more than once. So if you are in that position, just close one of your browser windows. You'll probably find you can still hear me. And that's because, as I say, you've got it open twice or more. Right, anyway, we will get started. So let's have a look at what we're going to be covering. So I've got a Help Center link not on there. We're off to a good start. I'll show you how to access the Help Center anyway. Anyway, we're going to cover the very basics of tax codes today. I'm not going to go into anything too specific. So we're going to cover the default list. Let's have a look at those. The setting up of tax codes, and also if you need to amend them. Now, normally with setting up, if you need to do that, you will be informed about that. So there's any legislation comes through, and it's going to be in the short term where you're going to need to amend the tax code or set one up. For instance, earlier on in the year, there was the hospitality 12.5% rate that came in on a short-term basis. You may have had to set that one up manually. So we're going to show you how you can set them up and amend them if needed. I want to touch on which code, so which tax code should I use for this type of transaction. Loads of information, great resource in our Help Center for that one. I've got a hands-on task for you all. So we tried this last time and people really enjoyed that element. So if you do have your Sage 50 accounts on hand, if you have it at the ready, and we're going to show you or get you to complete a task while you're online. I just want to touch on corrections and also the VAT return as well in relation to tax codes today as well. And as normal, we will cover additional support that's available for you as well. But obviously keep your questions coming. And as I say, my colleagues will try their best to keep up with that list and try and answer as many as they can. Okay, so we'll get started. Now, actually, just before I do that, I'm going to run a quick poll because we've been running this just for the last few webinars, and it's just a little bit of research. So I'm just going to quickly launch that. And if you don't mind, if you could just let me know, so choose one of the answers. When is the best time during the day to actually, for you to attend an actual webinar? So is it before 10? Some people have requested breakfast sessions. Is it between 10 and 12? Is it between 12 and 2? Or is it on our current time, somewhere between 2 and 4. So we tend to run them at 2, and if we run a second one, it will be at 3 o'clock. It seems to be when most people can actually attend that. Or would you prefer towards the end of the day, or possibly even an evening session? So from 4 p.m. onwards. So I'll just wait till I get a decent percentage you haven't voted for that one, and I'll close the poll, and then I'll share the results with you. I don't hide anything on them at all. So, right, so just about 80% of you have voted there, so we'll close that. I'll just share the results as well so you can see that. So as you can see, overwhelmingly, 57% of you, hence you're along today, find it probably the best time is between 2 and 4. So that possibly that lull in the afternoon when you feel maybe a bit sleepy after your lunch, probably the best time to attend. All right, excellent. Thanks for that. Okay, so I'm going to move on. If I can find the right button, there we go. First of all, we're just going to look at the basics of tax codes. So looking at the default list. Now, if you're in UK, obviously that's the UK version I'm using today, but if you're in Ireland, you'll still go into the same area, but yes, your list is going to look a little bit different, and you will find the default list. If you are in Ireland, you'll find that in our help center. We'll cover that in a bit more detail a little bit later on. But basically your tax codes, you'll find them if you need to see them or amend them. You'll find them with the settings menu, and then configuration, and you've got this tax codes column. So let's just have a quick look at that. I'll share my screen. So you should see my desktop at that point. So we're just going to go into settings, into configuration, and then, as I say, we've got the tax codes tab at the top. So this is the default list. Now you may find, even if you are UK based, that your list differs from mine a little bit. Sometimes you will be prompted to, depending how on the ball you are, you might set up a tax code because you can set it up straight away manually. But then if you haven't, possibly when we release our next update, that tax code would automatically be set up for you. So you may find that the list does differ here and there, even from my list that I've got. And I've just got a standard installation. So it's all to do with not only are you using the default list, but also if you've set any up manually, have you changed VAT schemes? If you've changed VAT schemes, sometimes you need to set up a whole new set of tax codes and switch across to those. Easy enough done, but again, that could be another reason why your list may be different. So we've got by default, it goes all the way through from T0 to T99. I think at the rate Brexit was introducing tax codes and the way that you had to use them for certain things, and possibly if you're on an unusual VAT scheme as well, or one of the less common ones, then you may use quite a few of them. But generally, if you're just on say a standard scheme, you probably generally use T0 through to T9. If I scroll down my list, you'll see there's, when we get into the sort of the mid-teens, and then beyond that, you'll see there's quite a list in there. Quite a few of you will never ever touch those tax codes. Now, if you needed to set one up or even amend it, what you would do is you would find a one that's maybe not in use. So let's say T10, first one on my list that's not used for anything and not flagged as being in use at the moment. If I just highlight that one and edit it, and you'll see equivalent of what we had a moment ago when we're looking at the slides. You'll see the various settings. So you've got the tax codes. The tax codes are set up already for you. So you can't create a new number, as it were. So you couldn't set up, say, T100 or T101. So T10 is my first one. So just in case of you selecting the number on the list, clicking edit at the bottom, it'll bring up the equivalent screen. So option to enter your rate, whether you want to make that live, i.e. included in the VAT return calculation. There's import-export settings, reverse charge settings, and also the option to pop in your description as well. So if you did need to set one up, this is where you come. Similarly, if you needed to amend one for whatever reason, you would just highlight the existing one, click edit, and then you can come in, shows you the same screen, and you'll be able to start making amends to that. However, What you will find is that if you do need to create any new tax codes, whether it's a new rate or a new tax code for some specific purpose, such as obviously when we went live with Brexit, or such as the reduced rate for hospitality that was available during the year, the earlier part of the year, then you would be notified by that. So keep an eye out as well for the advice centre notifications that pop up as you come into Sage Accounting. Don't just ignore them. Generally, it'll be either advertising, webinars, or other important information that you need. So keep an eye out for that. The lists as well, and possibly some of the descriptions, will change depending on your VAT scheme as well. I must mention that one. If anyone needs that default list, so if you have amended it or you want to compare your list to the defaults, you will find that in the Help Center itself. So that's the basics of accessing that default list. Let's just quickly pop back to the slides. And I want to today pick on 3 tax codes. And so normally there's quite a bit of confusion surrounding these 3. And people will use them for all sorts of things and use them in the wrong way as well. So I want to pick on T0, T2, and T9. Now, some of you will know this, you'll be quite experienced in this, and you think, well, doesn't everybody know that? Not everyone does know that. So T0, it's used for 0 rated goods and services. The easiest way, T0, 0 rated. So that's the best way of remembering that one. And it's got some typical examples of when you would use T0 in the UK. So it's UK examples I'm giving you in this example. So things like foods, children's clothing, books, newspapers, medicines on prescription, that type of thing. T2 is used for exempt goods and services. So an example of that one, finance charges. Bank charges would be a good example. If you're entering that when you may be entering as a bank payment or within the reconciliation window itself, bank charges, you would normally put that through as being exempt, so T2. And bank charges is a common one where you'll see people, if you always use T0 for that one, or they've been putting them through as T9. But T2 is used for exempt, which, like the bank charges, would be classed as that. And finally, you've got T9 as well. Now, T9 is used for non-vatable items. Now, got some examples of that one. Wages, if you put wages into your accounts or transfer funds between bank accounts in your accounts data, then you would normally use the T9 tax code for that one. You'll see T9 come up in a number of different areas. You can check your non-vatable code as well. There's a setting for that one in the software. Let me just quickly show you where you would check that one, just in case anyone's wondering. Maybe just preempt some of the questions on that one as well. So again, you would just go to settings, this time into company preferences. Just ask you for your password again. And then on the VAT tab, you will have a little drop down here, the non-vatable tax code. So T9. You may find that, and we often find it as well on support queries where people have come in and for whatever reason, they've changed that tax code to something else. But although you can change it, you would normally just leave it as that. There will be some other settings in the software, such as on the tax codes list. So a combination of the two. Potentially it could cause queries if you amend any of it relating to T9. But T9 transaction, non-vatable item, it's a transaction that would not be picked up on your VAT return. So you wouldn't want the payment of wages, for instance, to then be picked up. Otherwise, if you're on the standard VAT scheme and you put things through with T9, any payments, that's going to show as an expense on your VAT return. So be picked up in box 7, for instance. So watch out for that one. Again, all of the tax codes, and I can see loads of questions coming through. If you're not sure about something, and I'll come on to this in a moment, so as to the which code, and it's the Help Center. Now, in the Help Center, if I just go back to the slides for a moment. So in the Help Center, which is really easy to access, I should have included that link on the agenda slide, but really easy to access. So in the Help Center, there is what we would term a hub. So one of these panels on the Help Center page for Manage Your VAT. And this is where it will split at that point between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. or it will take you to the Republic of Ireland option, depending which option you choose, of course. So let's just have a look at that, and then I'm going to come back to the hands-on task in a moment. So one of the most popular articles relating for any support query is which tax code. So which tax code do I use for this? How do I enter that one? That type of thing. And I can see loads of questions of that nature coming through. Now, there will be occasions where if you do contact our support team, whichever manner you try to contact them in, we'll not be able to answer that. So yes, there may be obvious things that we can answer, but our support team, they'll be able to tell you, if you know the classification of a transaction is zero rated, then we say, right, well, zero rated, it needs to impact on this box and this box on your VAT return. Then you need to enter that using this tax code that would do that for you. But quite often, we'll need to refer you across to HMRC. So I can see some very specific queries coming through there, and that will probably be the case. If you're not sure about something, get in touch with HMRC's help desk and just ask, what's it classified as? How does it need to impact on the VAT return, that specific type of transaction? So once you're armed with that information, then yes, our support team could help you with that type of query. But anyway, coming back to accessing the help center, you've got your link on the navigation bar towards the upper left. So we'll just give that one a click and it'll take you to the screen that I was showing you on the slide a moment ago. So yes, you can search for answers. You can type some keywords in there, but for VAT and for tax codes, if you come down, you've got this manage your VAT option. So this is where we bring all the resources. So rather than you trying to search for it, we bring all the resources, the same articles, into one area. So choose your region. Are you Great Britain and Northern Ireland, or your Republic of Ireland? Let's just go Great Britain. And then it will take you into this screen. So again, trying to almost like guide you through with a series of questions to get you at the right information. So is it you need to know about how to prepare the VAT return or VAT registration schemes? Is it making tax digital? Well, today, obviously, we're looking at tax codes. And as you can see, a bit like along the lines of what we've trying to cover today, you can see the default tax codes and the most common question, which tax code should I use? Now, this is a fab resource. It's by far the most commonly used article within our help center. Nice and easy to find. Give it a click. It will outline. And this is where I would encourage you, if you've got any queries, if you typed them in already, have a go of this. Can you get to the answer that you need? So it'll ask you a series of questions. So is it a sale, a purchase, or is it bank charge or interest? So let's just say it's a sale. And then it's going to take you through a series of other questions. So let's just say goods. Let's say it's abroad. Obviously, it grays some of the questions out because it's then no longer applicable. I'll say no to that one. Do you have proof of exportation? We'll say yes. And then we'll view the steps. So it's just going to try and navigate you to the correct answer. So in this case, based on those, well, just random clicks I did, but it's which tax code to use. So in this instance, T0. And it will also tell you how it impacts and what effect it would have on the VAT return. So do use that. Nice and easy to navigate to, but because it's such a common question, that one, I'm going to show you how you can make just that a little bit easier rather than have it go to the help center and navigate to it each time. Now, yes, not everything will be covered in there. I must stress that one. So Julie, you mentioned you've used the tax code finder and I'm assuming it means it didn't answer your query. So there will be instances where we can't cover everything. Obviously, VAT it's a massive topic. There's quite a large government department dedicated to that one. So it is a big, big topic. So if you've got any specific queries, obviously we'll try and cover the majority, but try and, as I say, try and work through it. But otherwise, get in touch with the HMRC. Right, okay. So if I pop back to the slides for a moment. Next, something a little bit different is the hands-on task. So if you've got your Sage available, I'm going to show you this one, and then what I'll do is I'm going to paste in via the chat option. If I can find the chat option, I'm going to paste the code in that you're going to need to complete the task. So I'll quickly demonstrate it. We'll go back to Sage 50. If I can find the right button. There we go. And what you can do, and some of you may be familiar with these already, but it's quite, when you're working in your software, all of your function keys have a use. Now, F11 and F12, they do have a default use, but you can actually configure them to do something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do that. And then I'm going to show you some code that you can pop in there just to make your life just that little bit easier. So we're going to go into Tools. I'll run you through this again. I'll just quickly demonstrate it. I'll tell you the code that you need. And then if you want to give it a try, we'll see how many people can get this to work for them. So we're going to go into Tools and then Options and then Environment. And it's this F12 box. So I've got some code already entered here. Now, what this is, the code I've entered, I'll paste this, I'll paste that in now. If I can get it all highlighted. I'm going to pop this into the chat box for everyone. So it's the full list, the CMD space /C space start space, and then followed by the link to the tax code article. Now what that means is when we paste that into the F12 box, now I'll mention F12 because there is a difference between F11 and F12 depending on your version. If you're on 28.1, F11, it will allow you to put quite lengthy, a lengthy bit of code in there. But if you're on 28.0 or earlier, it will only go up to 50 characters. So you'll not be able to paste this code that I've got into that F11 box. But if you are 28.1 or higher, you can do it in either box. Now, all this means is when I've got this code entered, I just OK that, is when I'm working in my software, if I just press F12, it takes me direct to that article that we were just looking at. So which tax code? As I say, this is by far the most popular article to access, and then we can get in and start working through it. So just to recap on what we did there. So in the chat, you should just be able to highlight that, I think, and copy it. If not, what I'll do is I'm going to answer someone's question. I'll copy that in, and I will pop that, Kate, I'll pop that against yours and paste it in. And I'll just send that to everyone. So if you look into the questions panel as well, you should see that code I've just popped in against Kate's query there. It should be quite near the bottom. So how do you copy the chat? So the code is in there. If you copy that, and then within your software, you're just going to go into Tools, Options, Environment, and then it'll mention possibly repdes.exe, or it might have a path in there by default. Just remove what's there, and that code that you've just copied from the chat, if you want to pop that in there, just paste it in, and then OK that. Now, Pauline, you mentioned there, is there a link for Ireland? There's not the, well, there is a link to the article. I'll find that one for you. So everyone just paste that in, click OK. Then if you could let me know in the questions panel. Whether that's worked or not for you. So just give me a F12, yes, it worked, whatever you want to pop in there. Shirley, you mentioned what if you need F12? Well, nice and easy to access anyway. If you've got 28.1, you could always pop that into F11. If you haven't, then you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to need to obviously just keep what you want. So for Ireland, what we'll do, if I just go back to the Help Center, and again, just follow this through. And you could use any link. It's really just that bit of code at the beginning that's going to make the difference. So if I go on to the Republic of Ireland, into tax codes. Now, you've got popular tax codes, but you don't have the troubleshooter option itself at the moment. So it will give you a list of the tax codes. So it'd just be a case of me essentially copying that path, and it would work for just about any web link that you want to pop in there. But the key is putting that first bit in. So let me just show you again. So it's tools, options, environment. So it's that bit at the beginning, that CMD space /C space start space, followed by whatever sort of web link you want to put in there. It will work then. So if I wanted to, whether you want to go to the BBC website or whatever it is, if that's what you want to do during the day, then you can do that. If you work in a busy office as well, the other one to quickly mention is where you can configure F12 as a hide key instead. Now, if you've never come across that, it's what used to be termed many years ago as the boss key. So if you were doing something and you press F12, whatever you're doing, it just minimize it. So we'll do that with Sage. So if you work in that busy environment, obviously accounts, you've got sensitive information on there. Just means rather than trying to minimize or lock your PC, just press F12 and it would minimize instead. If you don't have it ticked, whatever's in that box, that's what it will do. Right, if anyone has any problems with that one, looks fantastic. Look, I'm sure my colleagues will agree with that one. Looks fantastic. So loads and loads of you have got it working. But the key is you must have that bit at the beginning. There's bound to be the odd one of you, for whatever reason, it's blocked. Martina, you mentioned, can you configure F11 as the link? As long as you're on 28.1, yes. Otherwise, F11 is actually restricted to 50 characters on earlier versions. That's something when I did the demo last time that I was made aware of, because we could try to paste it in. But as long as you're 28.1, yes, you can put your link into F11. If you've got 28.1, potentially put 2 links in there. Right, okay. So anyway, we'll move on from that one. The information that you need, of course, it is included in the help center should you need it. Yvonne, quickly, one from you. In F11, you've got Control Xe. What does it do? It opens well, give it a try, but it basically opens your control panel in Windows. So if you need to change settings, time, dates, that type of thing on your PC, it opens the control panel so you can easily access that one. So it just opens essentially your Windows settings, that's all. Right, coming back to the slides, we'll move on. The code, I will make it available as well on the, when you get your follow-up email, there will be a link included to our recordings. What we'll do is I'll pop the code on there as well. So if you do need it, if you couldn't work out how to copy it or anything like that one, then I'll make that code available next to the recording, so you'll be able to copy it from that page. Right, okay, let's get back to tax codes. So corrections, quickly talking about tax codes. Now, many years ago, you could just go into edit the transaction and you could amend the transaction, and that was that. It was classed as what you would term a non-critical field. But for many years now in the software, in conjunction with HMRC, we changed the tax code to what's now termed a critical field. So if you now do amend a transaction and you edit the tax code, what you'll find is that it will take a copy, well, depending on the status of the transaction, if it hasn't yet been VAT reconciled, what it will do, it will take a copy of what was originally entered as a transaction, and it will paste that in red to the end of your audit trail. So almost like a deleted transaction. So it's there for then audit purposes, and it will update the original transaction. If the transaction has been VAT reconciled, then what it will do, obviously it can't amend the original transaction, so it will post a reversing transaction. So let's say we amended, say, the tax code of a VAT reconciled invoice as an example. It will need to reverse that by posting a credit note, and then it will post another invoice with the correct information. So do be aware of that one. It very much depends on the VAT status of the transaction. Now, if you're not sure about things like this, and you think, oh, how do I use that, or what's just happened there? There is the demo data and the practice data to have a go of. Demo data has loads of information already there, means you can have a go, use the existing information. But practice data can sometimes be a little bit better. You can see the impact of exactly how whatever you enter, what impact that has in various different areas. Because practice data, there's nothing entered in that one. It gives you the choice to start from scratch each and every time as well. Sometimes you can get a little bit lost in the existing information if you go in the demo data route. So if in doubt as well, if you're not sure about something, back it up first. You can always restore that, assuming it's convenient to do so. So just be aware of that in corrections. Obviously, corrections is a big area that our support team gets asked about. So again, loads of information in the help center about that. But if you're unsure, you know where we are. Final thing to mention, on a similar theme, and you'll find all of this information in the help center, and that's to do with a VAT return. And the common one, which codes are picked up in which boxes. Now, the one thing I would mention, if you're not sure about this, nice easy way to do it as well, is use the drill down on the VAT return itself. Now, if you've not come across the drill down before, this can help you understand your tax codes in a little bit more detail. So again, you've got the demo data and the practice data should you need it. But if I just go back to my screen for a moment, and I'll quickly run a VAT return. So I'll just calculate it and see what it comes up with. So on step 2, the drill down functionality. So when I talk about the drill down functionality, it's these options here. So when I'm looking at box 1, for instance, I click on the little icon, it will take me into what I term drill down level 1. So any of them that have the icon in the background, you can drill down on. Again, if you're in Ireland, your VAT return is going to look a little bit different. But same functionality you have available. Now, when I click on that, because I've got this set of data set up for the standard VAT scheme, it's got the tax codes along the top, and it's got the transaction types along the top, I should say, and tax codes down the side. So it will give you a list of the tax codes that you've got set up that are flagged as being active that would be picked up in the relevant box that you've drilled down on. So good way of understanding, but that level of information as well, you'll find it all documented in the help center. Debbie, you're just asking there as well in relation to the correction that I was on about. Does Sage automatically create the credit notes? It will create the transaction. If you need to generate a credit note to send out, then you're going to need to do that sort of transaction manually within the invoicing and credits area. So if you're just going in to edit a transaction, it would generate the credit note on the back of the transaction only. It's not going to add anything to the invoices and credits list. Right, so as I say, drilling down, that will give you a list of transaction type by tax code. If you want to find out more about the VAT return, if you're not that familiar with it, again, please get yourself signed up for some webinars. We do them regularly for the VAT return and also VAT reports. Right, okay, let's quickly pop back to the slides. So it does bring us to the end of what I wanted to mention about tax codes. Again, keep your questions coming, keep my colleagues busy. You can see them trying to pick them up frantically there, trying to pick up as many as they can. I think you bombarded that by saying F12 was working or possibly F12 wasn't working, so they're trying to pick the odd one up there as well. So hopefully I'll get an answer to your question. Anyway, just want to quickly mention a little bit about Sage membership. You'll hear more about this, and you may have already received some notifications about Sage membership. Sage memberships brings together 3 key areas that are available to you as a Sage member. So Sage University, where we host all of our training courses and our online learning. So sageu.com. You've got Sage City, which is almost like our user forum for our business community. So you'll find blogs, questions and answers, advice on there, you name it, it'll be on there. And also Sage Masterclass. Now, if you've not come across Sage Masterclass, and this is what's actually been promoted quite heavily at the moment, it's loads of online videos from our, experts in their field. So season 1, these are still available, is all about finding and keeping great people. So approaching it from not a Sage perspective, so nothing to do with your software as such. So just general business advice. Season 2, I believe, is going to go live as of tomorrow, and that will the videos will concentrate on productivity. So again, if you are interested, if you have downloaded the slides, you'll have your link at the bottom there, sage.com/UK/masterclass. That should work for you, and you'll be able to access those. Upcoming webinars, we've got loads, even just this month. We are looking for ideas for November onwards. So if you've got any requests as well for anything you'd like to see covered, let us know. There will be a little survey pop up as you leave the session today. So if you've got any thoughts, ideas, anything you'd like to share with us, particularly any requests for topics, let us know. Next week, I am going to be hosting a session on lock date. So how you can, after you've run year end, how you can then switch on the lock date option and stop people from backdating transactions. Really simple feature, that one, but very effective. So we'll be running through that one again, quite a short webinar, that one, but showing the ins and outs of that option. Loads of other topics as well. So tomorrow we're covering departments, obviously tax codes we'll cover today. Next week we're covering a brand new topic, invoice discount options. So loads of different options available. There's quantity discounts, there's early payment discount available, there's net value discount. What else have we got? Standard discount against records, discount that you can just key in there and then. So loads of discount options available. So we're just running through them, giving you an idea of what's available. Get yourself signed up for that one if you are interested. Rosie, you mentioned there, can we have a webinar on how to manage purchase orders? We do have one on purchase orders itself. So again, check out the recordings that we have available. The recordings, if anyone wants to access those, watch out for your follow-up email, which you will receive in roundabout, I can't remember if it's set to 1 hour or 2 hours. Seems to vary a little bit here and there, but you will get a follow-up email later on this afternoon. That will include a number of links. One is to the link to our webinar registration page, and the other is to our list of recordings, both easy to access. All webinars are free to attend. If you can't attend, just watch out for your follow-up email saying the recordings now available. All recordings are hosted on the same page. So if you're new to webinars, have a good look. We've been running them for just over a year now. We've been introducing a new topic every week. So there's quite a few on there. Again, you can watch those whenever you want. But if you've got any ideas beyond that, please share it with us. Pop it on the survey or reply to any of your webinar emails. They'll be addressed to myself, and we'll take it from there. Right, we're going to continue to answer your questions for another few minutes, just to see what does come through. We try and answer as many as we can. Apologies if we don't get a chance to answer your question. If you're desperate, then please get in touch with our support team, and they should be able to help. But bear in mind, again, if you're not sure about the classification of a transaction, speak to HMRC first. Once you know that and the impact that it needs to have on the VAT return, then get in touch with our support team and we can give you the right advice. So, exit survey should pop up as you leave. If you take a minute to complete that, share any thoughts, ideas, etc. with us, That would be greatly appreciated. Follow-up email you'll receive in either an hour or 2 hours time. So watch out for that one and get yourself registered for some more sessions or watch the recordings. And other than that, I want to quickly thank you for your time. So thanks for coming along. Hope it's given you a little bit of an insight. Even if you go away and you just think, oh, I love that F12 thing. If you can't get it working though, get in touch with us. You know where we are. So if you are leaving, thanks again. Take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some other sessions. But if anyone wants to hang around, and we'll try and pick up, we'll just type answers to your questions. I may try and pick up a few myself. Then keep them coming. You're more than welcome to do so. Manjit, you mentioned there a webinar for postponed VAT and imports? Not yet. My colleague Jackie normally looks after the VAT side, so I'll bounce that off her and see what response we get. You never know, but we'll put it on the list of things to consider. What we try to do is try and cover topics that either people access our help center a lot about, hence the tax codes, the session that we've run today, or the ones that cover sort of areas of the software that people contact our support team about or tend to really struggle with, or maybe just areas that aren't well used. Try to cover that, just to advertise those in a bit more detail as well, just to help you try and get more out of your software. Steph, you mentioned a webinar on cash flow forecasting. We get that one occasionally. We haven't run one yet on that one, but we have had that in the past. So again, I'll add that to the list. Again, the more requests we get for them, the more likely we are to include them. Hilary, you mentioned more about, you wanted to learn more about the sort of the Brexit side of tax codes today. Again, it's quite, as you can probably appreciate, it's quite a large topic, tax codes, and we just wanted to cover the very basics today. But you will find loads of information available in our help centre to do with Brexit and the relevant codes. And remember that tax code troubleshooter link as well. So that one I got you to configure as part of F12. Loads of information there to try and get you using it. Carol, you mentioned, why don't you have a tax code finder button on the home page? It is a fab idea, that one. If anyone's got any ideas as well, anything you'd like to see changed in the software, let me just quickly show you this. If I go into the home page, so within Sage 50, go to the home page, you'll get this sort of a dashboard view. And all you need to do is scroll down and you've got this roadmap option. So if you click roadmap, it will take you to this page. Just maximize that so you can see it. So from here, you can see the roadmap it's all about new features. So what we have delivered so far. So it'll have a timeline on here as to features and when they were introduced. So if you're a few versions behind, you can always see what has been added. What else have you got? So on here, you've got what's coming next and also what we're working on going forward as well. So you can see that, and we're trying to make that, give you visibility of that as well. But you've also got the option to submit your ideas or vote on other people's ideas as well. I quite often put them on there on the back of conversations I have with people on the back of webinars. So if you've got any thoughts around that, things you'd like to see change, sometimes it can be a big change in the software. Other times can be minimal. And sometimes the smallest features are sometimes the best, the biggest time savers. So as an example, when I log into version 28.1, if I just log off, you'll see this one. This was a massive request, this one. The ability to remember your logon details, that little checkbox that you get on 28.1, just saves you having to log in each and every time. So as long as it's only you working from this PC, then you could use that. Diane, I can see all of your I can see all of your requests. So fixed assets, depreciation, prepayments, accruals, etc., etc. I'll pop those all on the list. You're going to keep me busy till probably at the end of next year, Diane, but we'll pop them on the list and see what we can come up with. Right, on that note, I think the questions are starting to dry up. So I'll just got to pop back to that final slide again. So let me just once again take the opportunity to thank you for coming along. You kept my colleagues really busy. I hope you've managed to get an answer to your query, but if not, check the help centre or get in touch with our support team. Appreciate it if you can take a minute to complete that survey. It should pop up as you leave the session today. So any thoughts, ideas, etc., pop it in there, and watch out for your follow-up email, which you should receive this afternoon at some point. So once again, take care, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you on some future sessions. Many thanks.